Well, for those who don't know, my name is Shawn Keen, and I'm the assistive technology trainer at the Lighthouse for the Blind. And I'm joined with...
I'm Kevin Higgins, and I'm the vision rehabilitation therapist at Lighthouse for the Blind. And we have a special guest with us today, this morning, right, Shawn?
That's right. We got John Bramblitt, who I learned about, I guess it was probably about 10 years ago from, I don't know if it was a news story or what. I was reading your bio, your About Me section on your website last night, John, and I guess you've been on just about every TV network and magazine and newspaper there is.
If they'll let me come on, I'll definitely go.
Yeah, it's really exciting for us. We're glad you're here, and
yeah, totally.
We're interested. How do you paint when you're blind?
Yeah, that's the big question right there. The elephant in the room.
Maybe I need to try it.
Oh my goodness, it is a blast. I recommend it, especially if you have a visual impairment. Painting is huge. It helps so much. But I wanted just to say thank you so much for letting me be here this morning. I mean, this is where I live. You know, North Texas is where I grew up. It's where I live. It's where we're raising my son. And so to be here and to be on this call with you guys is so cool. I just appreciate that so much. And it was so cool to be able to hear someone else listening to Jaws come over. So that's cool too. But yes.
So yeah, feel free to tell us about yourself and what got you here, and vision loss. It's your story. So.
All right. Well, growing up, I was sick a lot. I was born with kidney disease and had a kidney out by the time I was 7. I was born with severe epilepsy, and then ended up getting Lyme's disease later on when I was probably, I don't know, about 11 to early teens, somewhere in there, but it went undiagnosed for years. And that fooled around with the epilepsy, and it was either the treatment for the epilepsy or the Lyme disease, or both together. But I started having seizures that I wasn't coming out of. And it was stopping my heart and my breathing, and and that's really bad for your brain, apparently. So I started having this damage in the occipital lobe, and that's where I had the vision loss. So I ended up losing my eyesight when I was in college. But growing up, though, I had drawn all the time. Like I would draw every day. Drawing was my way of dealing with any stress or any problems. So, I drew every day. I could do blueprints of houses. I took every art course I could. And I'm a huge nerd. I was a huge nerd then. I'm a huge nerd now. So I took every course I could ever reading. But then whenever I lost my eyesight, though, I thought art was over. I thought that was it. I didn't think I'd be able to do. And it wasn't even an idea. But thank goodness for modern orientation and mobility, the modern technology. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be painting. But and I was fortunate too in that not only when I lost my eyesight, but also where, because I was enrolled at the University of North Texas, and they have a very progressive disability office. So I thought I had to leave school. I mean, I already had epilepsy, and I thought, man, this is it. I'm losing my eyesight. This can't be good, and I thought I was going to have to leave college, and I actually went by the Office of Disability, and the president for the ODA there was Ron Venable, and I basically went by to say goodbye, and he was like, John, you can do whatever you want to do. Like the technology we have, all the stuff we have out there now, you can do anything you want. And I didn't believe him. I thought he was just being really nice to lie to me to try to brighten my day, but of course he was being completely honest. And I started learning O&M, I started learning Braille, started learning JAWS, all the different screen readers. But the main thing, though, that really helped me was the O&M. I mean, everything helped me, but for when it comes to painting, because after about a year, I lived in an apartment close to the university. So after about a year, I could leave my apartment and find the university, and then, find the right building. And of course I'd be sweating bullets and stuff, crossing streets and things, but I was all very new to it. So my heart would be racing. I'd be like, holy crap, I got to cross the street now. Everything was still very new, but as I was walking down a street, I was thinking, this is like a straight line, just like a line in the drawing. And it's just meeting up with another street, which is like another line, and with the O&M, with the white cane skills, you're basically using your sense of touch to be able to navigate. And I thought, well, good grief, if I can use my sense of touch to navigate a city, something this big, surely I could use my sense of touch to navigate something much smaller like a canvas if I just use the same techniques. So that was just where the drawing started again. So I started trying to learn how to draw where I could make marks on a canvas that I could touch and feel and navigate them almost like I was going down a city street. And it was very, very simple at first. I went from being able to do portraits and all these sort of things when I was sighted to try to learn how to draw squares and circles and triangles, and make them, maybe draw one square and then make another square exactly half the size of that one. And but that's kind of where it started though. And I thought I was nuts. I thought I was crazy. I didn't know about, this was in 2002 that I started. And I didn't know of any visually impaired painters out there. I thought I just lost my mind. But I had to get back into art because one of the best things about art, and this, it's just one of the most incredible things, is that in art, it doesn't matter what you can't do. It's all about what you can do. And whenever you're painting, you're not thinking about anything else. You're not worried about the past. You're not concerned about the future. You're only thinking about that single brushstroke. So it's just like taking a mini vacation from everything, from all your stress. And that's what I wanted to get back to. So it didn't matter if I was any good at it. The act that you're actually painting, that you're creating, is the most important part. So so I knew I had to get back to that, and I started. And but one thing I'm asked a lot is color here. And for anybody who has some vision, I'm going to hold up a paint. But I think, let me make sure I got the camera. Okay, yeah, it's right in front of me. So I braille my paint. So I have a little bit of braille. I'm a very lazy brailler. So I only braille just the amount that I need to. So I can read my paints and tell what color I'm basically starting with. But the main thing that I do though is that I have all these different mediums in here that I mix in with the paint, and that changes how the paint feels. So I can start a drawing with lines that I can touch and feel, and then when it comes time to add color, I actually make the colors feel different. Like I can mix a medium in with a white that makes it really thick. It feels like toothpaste. A medium in with a black that makes it runny and feel like oil. So if I'm touching a thick paint, it's got to be the white. If it's runny, it's got to be the black. So it makes it easy to be able to determine the colors. If I want to mix the color, I can just mix for the way it feels, for the texture. So I can, if I want a gray halfway between black and white, I just mix for the texture that's halfway between the two. So that's what got me started with it. And, and probably, over the first year or two, it was very, very simple sort of drawings, maybe just using 2 or 3 colors. Like if it was a crazy day, maybe 3 colors, I'm really out on the edge. And then, but the thing about art is that you're constantly pushing yourself. So I'm always pushing. I'm always trying to add more colors and more colors, being able to develop new drawing techniques. But one of the wonderful things though that happened is that it changed my entire perspective on things. Whenever I lost my eyesight, I was so angry and so depressed. I was so angry I didn't even realize how angry I was, because I was doing everything they told me to. I was learning O&M, I was learning JAWS, I was learning Braille, I was learning how to sew buttons on without sticking yourself with a needle too many times, hopefully, how to eat without getting food all over yourself, usually how to cook. And it wasn't until I lost my eyesight that I realized how many hot, pokey, sharp things there are in a kitchen. It's ridiculous. But, you were doing all this. And I thought, well, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. But on the inside, I was still angry and I was still so depressed. And it was the artwork that helped with that. But also I felt very isolated from everyone around me. Even though I was still in the same town, I felt like I was in a foreign country, but everybody still spoke the same language. I just felt very alienated and isolated from everyone. And it seems like no one really understood me anymore. Like they didn't know, because sometimes when you lose your eyesight, people don't understand what you understand. If you're, like they think because you can't see something, you can't comprehend it or understand it. So, if somebody walks in the room, maybe it's like your cousin, you've known them in your entire life. They'll say, John, it's your cousin, it's your cousin's here, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know, I recognize your voice. I know who you are. So one reason with the painting was to let people know that I was still me inside. So I started painting, and I wanted to meet other crazy artists, other people that were as obsessed with art as I was. And that's when I started showing. And when I did my shows, I didn't tell people that I was visually impaired. I didn't tell them that I couldn't see, because I didn't want people to think about, the blindness, I wanted people to think about the artwork. And so, but the shows did well. And then it got out that I was visually impaired, and then some stories were written. And that was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I started being contacted by charities and nonprofits. They were saying, hey, we heard about your painting. Can you come and talk to our clients? Can you come and do workshops with us? So I started traveling around and working with these different nonprofits. And that's when things really changed for me, because I would go to a group, and maybe it was soldiers that had PTSD, or maybe it was a group of children with autism, or a group of seniors with Alzheimer's, or a group of people with visual impairments, but whatever group I was with, we were all dealing with things. We all had, a challenge in our life that we were trying to deal with, and that we just got each other, for once since losing my eyesight, I was around other people that understood, and I just felt like I was at home, and it made an incredible impact with me. And then from that, museums started to contact me, and they started to say, hey, can you come and teach workshops? Can you do your thing? Because the museums, our art museums, started wanting to become more inclusive, to open up for people with disabilities. And so I started developing programs for them, and that's taken me to I work with the Met, work with the Guggenheim. I work with the Dallas Museum of Art for over 10 years now. We do every October. I'm there. So, and the Meadows Museum here in Dallas are the two that I work with in Dallas the most. And then, but it's been really interesting. And then a couple years ago, for World Sight Day, I was contacted, and they wanted to know if I wanted to paint a mural. And so I went to New York, and I painted a mural, and it was the first mural that a visually impaired person has ever painted. And since then, I've done lots of murals. I've got a couple in Dallas that are like 4-story murals in the Bishop Arts. I painted a 737. We've traveled around and done different things. A few months ago, I was made a cultural ambassador for the United States of America. So when the COVID-19 thing gets over again, I'll travel around and try to spread some art and disability awareness around the world a little bit more. And I mentioned that because when I first started painting, I thought I was nuts. I thought I was crazy. I thought that they were gonna get the butterfly nets and lock me up. They're like, hey, this guy's lost his mind. And to me, it means so much to be able that, the United States says, hey, we want you to spread culture. You as a visually impaired visual artist, we think that's great. And go out and represent America. I think that's incredible. And I feel like I'm just talking, like I don't know. I don't want to just ramble on. I get really excited about art and about disability awareness.
You're fine, John. Continue on.
Thanks, Shawn.
This is great. This is wonderful.
Kevin, I'm sorry. Thank you. There is one thing I want to mention. One thing that really surprised me, and it's one of my favorite things, is that when I first started painting, I thought, like I said, I thought it was nuts. I didn't really think that it would lead anywhere, it would do anything. But it turned out that it helped my ability to get around, my travel, my independent travel, just skyrocket. So we started teaching children, and we've been doing this for years. We've worked with tens of thousands of children that are sighted, but also with children with visual impairments. And we worked with blind services with 7 different states. We worked with Brazil. I've worked with some different things in Africa, but teaching the O&M, the basic cane training, is how I paint. So every child that I've ever met that has a visual impairment, one thing that every child has in common is that they hate the cane at first. You hate that cane because it makes you stick out. It makes you look different than everybody else. Plus, you're always running into things, and you're bumping into things and getting bumps and bruises. And it's so much easier just to ask a parent or a friend to guide you around. But with the cane skills, you get over that hurdle, and you learn how to use it, then suddenly your world opens up. So whenever you're painting the way that I paint, you're practicing those cane skills every time you're painting, the entire time. Because it's basically like feeling where one thing is, remembering it, and then feeling another thing and linking those together, making the mental map, using your O&M skills, being able to keep more in your mind. And the more you do it, the more you can keep in your mind. Then you start realizing, like, oh, it's easier, suddenly it's easier for me to remember when my glass is, or my fork, or this or that. Your brain gets more plastic, more flexible for that. So we're teaching these kids, and it took me years to learn this sort of stuff. And these kids in 2 or 3 weeks are just like blowing me out of the water. Like they're It's so funny. So we'll talk to the teachers, and the teachers are used to their visually impaired students like staying in their seat. Like maybe someone will guide them in. They'll be in their desk, and that's where they stay for the whole class. But after painting for a few weeks, they're getting up, they're getting extra paper. Maybe they're wandering over, they're having a chat with a friend. Suddenly they're all over the place. They're like, this is great, but oh my goodness, I can't keep my students in their chairs. And I think that's just wonderful. So basically we're sneaking O&M in on the children and showing them how to use it. But it's just one of the things. It's funny, like with painting, I know people get caught up and they'll say, oh, I can't draw a straight line, or I can't paint. When this sort of painting, we're using the O&M and you're doing it, the benefit is really just doing it, like making it a verb, like actually just doing it. It doesn't matter what you end up with. It really doesn't. Like if you don't like it, throw it away. Use the back of it, white it out, paint over it again. It's the act of painting that's so important, and it's so therapeutic and so wonderful. And if you end up with something that you like, awesome. That's icing on the cake. It's like, it's a win. It's a win-win. But either way, like, I have an entire rack of paintings over in this on the corner, and it's my rack of shame. But it's not really shame. It's my rack of failure. They're paintings that didn't turn out well, but it's my failures in painting that has taught me the most. So every time I make a mistake, I've learned something. So anyway, I'm just rambling on, but I really want to talk about what you guys want to talk about and answer any questions, or I know I've kind of glossed through a bunch of stuff. So
Hey, John.
You want me to hit back on?
No.
Hey, John. This is Shawn. So when you were talking about painting and being able to feel the textures of the different paints, do you paint with a brush or do you paint with your fingers?
Oh, I do. I paint with a brush, and when I first started, I used like a size 0 brush, like the tiniest little brush, because I would feel where I want to put the paint. Then I go like I put a little dot of paint there, and then I would feel, and I put another little dot. Over time, I started using bigger brushes, and I don't use my fingers as much because when you're painting, and although there are some visually impaired artists that use their fingers, they do incredible art. It's just for me, it doesn't work as well. But that's one of the great things about art, is that there's brushes, there's different kinds of brushes, there's paint knives, there's your fingers, there's lots of tools to use. So there's no right or wrong. It's just whatever works for you or whatever works for what you're working on. But for me, when I get paint on my fingers, it's hard for me to feel the details. So I draw with lines that I can touch and feel. And when I get paint on my fingers, it's hard for me to feel that. So the first thing I put in my studio was a sink, and I'm constantly wiping my hands off so I can feel the details. And when I'm painting, I have a heat gun, and I use paints that dry really quickly. So I can put down a little paint, I can dry it or let it dry, and then I can go and touch and see if I did what I think I did. And so, yeah, and the great thing about art is that there really is no right or wrong. It's just all about getting the job done.
What do you draw the lines with where you can feel it? Is it like one of those raised line drawing?
The stencil?
Like the stencil thing, or?
When I first started, I was using a fabric paint, and you can get like tulip fabric paint. It's like a puff paint. And that's really good because it leaves a nice, really hard raised line. The only bad thing is it takes a little while to dry. You can hit it with a heat gun or a hair dryer, and it makes it dry a lot faster. But now what I dry with is acrylic paints. And here, I'm gonna lean over here real quick. I've got a medium that I mix with it. It's a high flow medium, and it helps it dry out, but it gives it sort of a rubbery kind of feel. So it's a paint that I can draw with, and it almost leaves like a rubbery sort of line that I can feel. But it's very thin. So when I first started, I used much thicker, giant raised lines. And I still do every once in a while because they're fun, and they're cool to touch, and they're fun to touch. And if I'm making paintings that I know other visually impaired people are going to be touching, I try to draw with bigger lines because I do it every day. I'm so used to it. It's like anything. You do it enough, you get more sensitive to it. So I can now draw with a much thinner line, or just make it feel different. So the lines I use now are usually more of a rubbery kind of feeling, but they're really thin. But that lets me paint over them easier. So I don't know. It's, but the nice thing about that too is that there's no one way. There's some visually impaired people who will use grids. There's some people who have some eyesight, and they'll use a CCTV, and they'll blow it up, and they'll use that. Some people will work in blacks and whites, in the shift in the, I swear I've got a hole in my brain this morning. I can't think of what that's called with the black and white,
fine.
but the contrast.
Inverted.
Probably.
Yeah, you're fine.
But so that helps. So with me, I don't see color or shadow or anything like that, so that doesn't help me. So I just use the tactile, and that seems to work really well.
I was watching. I've watched a couple of your live streams on Facebook over the last, I don't know, week or two. And the other day, I think someone had asked you if you could do a picture for them or something like that. And one of the things I remember you mentioning is that you had all kinds of tools in your studio, like to where I guess you can scan pictures or music. Okay.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, Shawn. That's a great thing. Yes. I mentioned before I'm a huge nerd. I was really into computers and stuff before I lost my eyesight.
You're in good company.
And that, oh my goodness, that helps so much. But yeah, in my studio, I have a massive 3D printer, so I can print out, like, if I hear about a statue in Greece, that's in a museum, and I can print it out, much smaller than it would be, in life size, but still big enough to be able to touch it and get the details and stuff. So, and there's certain things that have been scanned, or so I can. We have a 3D camera where we can take pictures with that too and print that out. That's a little iffy. It's not as good. But with some software, and I can't think of the name of it, and there was one that they had on a phone or for touchscreen devices that they've taken down now. I have it, but you can't download it right now because it was in beta testing. So they've took it down, and they're taking it down, and they're correcting it. But there's some others out there, but I can't think of the names. But there's basically it'll take a picture, and it'll reduce it to lines. So it'll just make it into lines. So if you're using a touch screen device, you can touch the screen. And as you're touching the line, it'll vibrate a little bit for a thin line, a lot for a thicker line. It'll make different sounds. And there's some others. There's one called Cat Blind Helper, but I think they took that one down now too, and they're fixing it. And that one does all kinds of stuff. Like that one is just like it's a little much because it just does so much. It makes different sounds for different colors. It makes sounds for different lines. It was doing so much one day. I have a son, and I thought it was giving you all this information. It was like, I'm making all this sound. It sounded like an old modem from the 1980s or something. It just exploded. And my son walked through the room, but I was thinking, like, how can they use this? And my son walked through the room, and it tracked my son. You could hear him moving through the room, like, almost like sonar, like, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, it's a little beyond my talent, but there's some, but for people out there that are really good with audio, with being able to hear, it's just, to me, it's exciting, all the stuff that they're coming out with, and a lot of it isn't that great. A lot of it's going to fail, but I think it's wonderful with all these apps that there's people just trying things, and I remember when I was in college and I got my first note taker, and it cost so much more than a laptop. And anything that you put visually impaired on it, suddenly the price of that object will suddenly skyrocket. If you got a clock, you could go to Walmart or Target and get a clock for really cheap. But if you got a clock that said clock for the visually impaired, suddenly it's like $200 or something. And now it seems like with technology, things have changed. Like everybody's phone will talk to you. The computers can talk to you. The Alexa, like I have Alexa all through my house. So, you can just, suddenly all this stuff is just becoming more and more available, and because of the apps for the phone, because we all have these little computers that we walk around with, anybody can come up with an app. So suddenly you have an explosion of apps for people with visual impairments. So I'm sorry, I get excited. I just start rambling on.
It's great. John, I had a question just to make sure that I'm understanding something correctly. Did you say that you print things out with a 3D printer and then study them tactilely?
Yes, well, my wife actually prints them out. The 3D printer, the computer doesn't talk to me, so she'll print them out. But yes, we'll print them out here, and then I can touch and I can study them and see what they look like.
Wow,
this is a lot of fun because I can print out like an Olmec mask, or I can print out, like I'm doing a painting, a giant mural of the Statue of Liberty. It's going to be a 30-foot mural, and I remember seeing her face when I was a kid and all this, but being able to print that out and actually touch her face, it's so, it's so much better.
Wow. So you take that in tactily, and then you form an image in your mind, and then you translate that to canvas, right?
Yes.
That's amazing.
well, and it's techniques that painters have used for centuries, which is something that I found that was so interesting whenever I lost my eyesight. O&M has come so far, in the last like 10, 20 years. Like, it's just ridiculous how much orientation mobility, how much better it is now than it used to be. Well, for centuries, visual artists have been thinking about the world in visual terms and about how to express the world in visual terms. So you have these painters like from 200 years ago, they're trying to think about, well, I see this pond and with these trees, what is the best way that if I was writing a letter to someone that I could describe this, and put it in visually describe it. So you have these people that have been working for all this time on visual description, on breaking down the visual world in understandable sort of ways. It's like if you were in 1700s France and you wanted to write to your painter buddy in England and describe this wonderful scene that you were painting, you had to do it in descriptive terms, and you had to be able to break down the painting, in ways that he would understand it. So, but it's funny thing is that the visual world, like the painting world and the non-visual world, has never really mixed before, and now it's mixing. And you see, there's all these ideas and stuff that painters have been using that can actually help people with visual impairments. And one of them is breaking down a composition. Like when a painter is looking at a painting, like you can break it down to shapes. You can like a face. I mean, like a cartoonist. If you're going to do a caricature of somebody's face, you break it down into anchor points and gosh, I swear my brain's got a hole in it this morning.
Oh, you're fine. You're doing great.
Anchor points and pivot points, so that you find like where one feature will go to another. So like for the ear, it can be the tip of the ear to the bottom of the ear, and then you break that down into 3 little spots. And it's just a system where you can break everything down into a very understandable kind of way, and everything flows into the next thing. So
when you're looking at a canvas to prepare to make your portrait or your art, are you taking the corners of the canvas as points of orientation to know where you're at?
I am. I use that, and then to know like where on that blank I'm going to start. And when I first started, my proportions were way off, so I couldn't even use like a pre-stretched canvas. I would take raw canvas and I would staple it to a wall, and I would start drawing because I would try to make something little and it would end up being really big. But over time, my practice got better, so now I can use the pre-stretched canvas. And but whenever you make your first mark, every time you make a mark on the canvas, it's giving you more information. So that first mark that you put down, it's just if it's the same as if you're a sighted artist. Let's say if I was going to draw a tree, I might do one vertical line for like one side of the trunk, and then I might make another vertical line for the other side of the trunk. If you're sighted, you're going to look at those lines and see if they're going the way that you wanted. If you're visually impaired, you do a lot of you do everything through your sense of touch, so you're feeling these raised lines and seeing if they're going the way that you want it. And it takes practice, but you feel one, and is it going straight up and down, like if you want it to go straight up and down? And the other one, is it going straight up and down, or is it at an angle? If it is, you just wipe it out and you write, you just draw another one. But it's really about the practice, though. And the more that you do it, the better you get. When I first started, I was just trying to draw squares, lines, circles, and just trying to maybe have like a square and then a triangle, and maybe have the line go from the middle of one to the middle of the other. I'm just trying to get it as accurate as I could. And I'd be sweating bullets, because I'm concentrating so hard trying to do this. But, it's like puzzles. So I don't know, but and it ended up helping my O&M so much.
That's awesome.
Oh, I wanted to say too, and I know a lot of this sounds kind of it's funny. Like I'll explain how I paint. We do workshops where we'll give people raised line drawings that I've made, and we'll give people paint that I've mixed up where every color feels different. And I've done this with tens of thousands of people, and most of them are sighted, so they've never had any O&M, no special training, and we'll blindfold them. But in 5 or 10 minutes, everybody's painting. It's like a cartoon character, maybe. It's like a flower or a rose or something, or a happy face. But everybody's able to pick the color, and start putting it down, and to begin painting. So it's it sounds hard. It's funny. Most of the time when people do that, they're like, I'm not sure how you do that. I don't understand. And then they're painting for 5 minutes, and then suddenly they'll go, oh, it kind of clicks. And they're like, oh, okay, that's not, it's just baby steps. It's just little. It's not as complicated as it might sound.
Well, that is really, really interesting. Do you have a studio, John, that people can come visit?
I paint out of my house. My studio is in my house, and we were thinking about opening a gallery this year. We keep about to open a gallery, and I don't, because my commute right now is great. Because I don't have to worry about it. So we were thinking about this year, and then with the virus and everything, we're probably going to wait just a little bit before we open a gallery.
No, I understand.
But anybody is welcome to come here to my home studio, and if anybody wants to try out I love guests, and so as soon as we're out of this lockdown sort of thing, if anybody wants to come and paint, they're more than welcome. And also on my Facebook page, I'm putting out videos, but I'm about to put out a bunch about how to paint when you're visually impaired. So, if you want to like or follow over there, then you'll be able to catch it. And I encourage anybody to send me emails. If this sounds like something you want to get into, just send me an email. And my email is just my last name. It's bramblitt@gmail.com. And everything for me is Bramblitt. My website is just bramblitt.com. My Facebook's Bramblitt at Facebook. It makes it easy for me to remember. I don't have to remember all these complicated.
I understand. I'm the same way too. Well, John, thank you for sharing. That's truly awesome and very, very interesting. So we can open it up maybe to some questions. I'm sure some folks out there have some questions they'd like to throw your way.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
Mindy has a question. Mindy, you're unmuted if you have a question still.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My Wi-Fi is being really flaky. Sorry.
Oh, no.
So I was just wondering, is it harder for you to paint like scenery, or like would you prefer to paint like draw someone? How do you approach that? What is your preference?
That's a really good question. I do both. I do a lot of portrait work, and the hard thing about if you're painting someone's portrait is that it's got to look like them. If you if you're painting someone's aunt and their nose is off, everybody's going to know it. They're going to like, that doesn't look like Aunt so-and-so's nose. So, and I painted Jeff Bridges and Tony Hawk, and where I meet them and I'll feel their faces and I'll do and I painted tons of musicians. So some people that other people would know what they look like. So if I get it off, then I'm gonna get a lot of flack for it. I gotta get lots and lots of messages. Sorry, I can't talk. But with scenery, it's more free. Like if you're painting a tree and you get a leaf off, no one's gonna notice. Because nature is great that way. Where all the leaves are different and they're so you can be more free flowing and so. But there are aspects about nature that makes it hard, like the scenery, because you want to get the focus right, so like if you have things in the foreground and things in the background, you want to be able to get that right, and so there's challenges about all of it, but probably with the portraiture it's a little more exacting. Like I'm doing a painting right now for this lady, and she has 4 cats and 2 dogs, and she wants them to look kind of like those animals. So, I'm trying to think like, oh my goodness, what a calico cat, all the little spots. It's fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Mindy.
Oh, thanks.
And Shauna has a question as well. Hold on, it's taking a second to unmute. There we go. Go ahead, Shauna.
Myself, and when that happens, it sends a thing asking, host would like you to unmute yourself. And sometimes it takes me a minute to get it unmuted. I have two questions. One, when and where exactly do you do the workshops? And my other question was, my therapist would like, she is visually impaired and she has a support group too. And she would like to try to get your contact information and see if you'd want to come to one of her support groups.
Oh, sure.
Should I just email you?
Yes, please. That'd be great, please.
And the workshop question?
Well, every October is Art Beyond Sight Month, and I do workshops at the Dallas Museum of Art.
Okay.
But it changes every year of how much I'm out, or I work with other museums that month too. But and I also work with the Meadows Museum every so often in this area. And then I do a lot of traveling. I'm usually going 2 or 3 times a month, like flying different places to do different things. So most of the stuff I do is elsewhere. But again, like if anybody in this area, like, or if anybody's in the Dallas area and wants to come by, like my home / studio to do a workshop, or I don't ever charge anything for art workshops. Like they're always free. And
that's amazing.
Art came to me at a time when it shouldn't have. I mean, good grief, so, and art is so helpful. Like if you're dealing with something.
Yes.
And art is made for people with disabilities. I mean, I was the first time I gave a talk at the Metropolitan in New York, and and to an artist, that's like a cathedral. It's like, I'm going to the great house, and I was trying to look up the different artists that had a disability. I thought, I'll name off a few artists that had disabilities, and it was easier to find an artist that didn't have a disability, because so many artists have something. And throughout history, the only difference is that they used to hide it more. So you wouldn't find out about them having a problem, like a hearing problem or this or that, or having a certain disease, or maybe they were separated from their society in some way. You wouldn't find out about it until you read their biography, or maybe 100 years after they died or something.
Yeah.
And now we're more open, and and so art has always been a great way for people that have a challenge to meet it. So I don't ever charge for any of that. So if anybody's in the area and they want to come by and paint an afternoon, I paint literally every day.
When this Corona stuff's over, right?
yeah, when the Corona thing's over. Yeah, oh my goodness. And also even easier than having to get in the car and come over here. I'm going to start doing painting workshops where we're actually going to work on a painting online. So anybody can join, and we'll just work on a painting. You don't have to paint. You can join in and just listen, get inside, ask questions and all that. So I'm going to be doing that on my Facebook page and sharing it over to YouTube and all that kind of fun stuff. But I want to do it in a way where we can all chat. That way, if someone says, I'm interested in painting, but I don't really know, but I'll listen to it, and maybe I'll figure out if I want to give it a try. That's perfectly fine too. You don't have to be, like super duper.
That's awesome. I have a little vision, and I looked at some of your paintings. They're very vivid, which I like.
Oh, thank you. When I first started painting, all my paintings were very dark, but I was very angry and depressed. But
yeah,
the more I paint, the happier I am. So the brighter the paintings need to be.
Well, thank you for answering my question.
Oh, thanks so much.
Thanks, Shauna. And I personally have like 6 of your paintings as well.
Oh,
I've been a fan of yours for a while.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that so much, Rebecca.
No problem. Looks like Megan has a question. Go ahead, Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm from the Houston area. And do you mind sharing your social media information, especially when you're going to do the live paintings? I have a couple of visually impaired friends down here that would love to participate.
Oh, absolutely. And so for the social media, it's just my last name. It's Bramblitt on Facebook, and I have a page and a personal page, but it's the art page that I'll be doing like the workshops. I'll share it over to my personal page too, but it's just Bramblitt, like Facebook. Gosh, I don't know, but it's Bramblitt. So if you type in John Bramblitt, I should pop up. And then and it's the same on Twitter and on Instagram. I don't do Twitter much, but I'm on there. Instagram, it's just Bramblitt. Everywhere it's just Bramblitt, and my email is Bramblitt at gmail.com.
Okay.
And if you go on the
Perfect.
internet, like if you forget, if you go on the internet and type in blind painter, or I'll usually pop up. So
Okay.
but yeah, send if you can't find it, just send me an email and I'll try to send you a link or something. And in Houston, oh my goodness, I usually go to Houston twice a year for
Awesome.
for the Bayou Art Festival.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it.
And I was supposed to be there this year, but of course it got canceled. But I'm automatically in for the next time. So I'll be, so hopefully in the fall. But if I'm there, it would be so cool if you guys if you could come by and say hi. I would love to meet you in person.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Shauna. And then I will include all of his information in our wrap-up email. Megan, do you receive our emails?
Thank you.
No, ma'am,
Rebecca.
I don't. Is there a way for me to?
Yes. Are you able to see the chat group?
Yeah, no.
No? Okay. My email, first of all, how did you found out about our meeting?
Shauna, actually, we go to CCRC together, and she sent me the information and was like, you should join. And so I decided to join today.
Perfect. Okay. Well, my email, are you ready to take it down?
I am not. Can I get the information from Shauna?
Yes. I believe Shauna, here, let me unmute her. I believe she receives our emails.
Shauna Banana.
Hey, Megatron.
Hey, do you?
I received from Kevin and Shawn, but I've never received anything from you, Rebecca.
Okay. Do you get the generic, sincerely client services? Is that the email you get?
No.
Okay.
If I message Kevin or Shawn, usually Kevin, I'll get a response back. Like I asked about today's meeting.
Just send one of them an email with your information and Megan's, and I will get you guys added to our list.
Awesome.
Okay. That'd be great. Thank you.
Shauna,
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
did you just say Megatron?
Yes. That's my nickname for her.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Just like she calls me Shauna Banana.
I prefer Optimus Prime myself. So
We have a question from Thomas. Go ahead, Thomas.
Hey, thanks for coming by. Your story is really inspiring, and it really it's close to home. I lost my vision just 2 years ago, and I used to be a student at North Texas. So my question was, what was it like dealing with the disability office? What did they do to accommodate you, and how did that process go?
Thomas, thank you so much, and that is such a great question. I went to college right after. I just want to mention really quickly, and I'll answer that. But I went to college to junior college first, right after high school, and I didn't go to the Office of Disability. I wasn't visually impaired then. I had severe epilepsy, and that was a huge mistake. Like I would have seizures, and then I wouldn't tell anybody why I was missing school. I'd miss for like a week, and then I'd go back, and then finally I thought, well, school isn't for me because. I'm just having too many seizures and blah, blah, blah. And then later on, a few years down the road from that, like a couple of years, I wanted to go back, and I thought, this time I'm going to do it right. So I went to the University of North Texas, and I went to the Office of Disability and just told them, hey, I have epilepsy and this and that. And I kind of thought they would be saying, they would be like, well, we can't really help you. But instead they were like, oh, great. Lots of people here have visual impairments and epilepsy and all blah, blah, blah. You can, and they help with so many different ways. And the main thing though is that it takes a lot of the stress off of you. So if you're going in for a test, like let's say if you're they can have somebody read for you. You can have extra time on the test. You can you can take the test at the Office of Disability. So if you need like any screen readers, if you need like a human reader, whatever it is you need, if you need somebody in classes to help you take notes. I work for the ODA after I've been visually impaired for 2 or 3 years, and I learned the cane skills and all that. Then I started working for the ODA to take notes for people. So I would go to classes for students that had disabilities who weren't able to take notes for themselves, and I would take notes for them. There's just so many different things. It's hard to even tell you what they can do because they do so much. They will go and talk to your professors. If you have a professor that's giving you a hard time or they're not making any reasonable accommodations for you, they will help you deal with the professor, and they will make sure the professor understands, so, it's not all on you at all. And it just makes it where school wasn't only possible, but I actually had a good time at it, and it wasn't, the stress of it went away. I mean, not completely. I mean, school wasn't easy. I'm not gonna lie to you or anything like that, but dealing with school compared to dealing with a disability, school is way easier. And then you have these people in your corner, constantly there, everybody that gets you. Like there's a place on campus you can go where everybody gets you, is pretty cool. So, that really helped. If you're wanting to go to UNT and if you need any help with that, let me know. I live about a mile away. My wife used to, she was a director of journalism at UNT for like 17 years, 15 years, something like that. So, if you need any help or, or just want to walk around the campus and all that, once all this COVID stuff is gone and they let us out of our houses again. I mean, we live right now. We live next to the stadium. So we live right there. But so if there's anything that I can do to help, let me know too, because I know that campus pretty well. My wife really does.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, and I mean that. So like, if you're like 6 months from now or a year from now and you think like, oh man, I think I want to go check that campus out again or this or that, let me know.
All right, I will do.
Hey, can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, my computer messed up, so I'm on my phone now. I'm logged in twice here. Hey, John, something we might look at doing someday is, maybe we could do some kind of art class at the Lighthouse.
Ooh, let's do it.
Absolutely.
That sounds great.
That would be awesome.
And that's one thing I would love. So I mean, we need more visually impaired people in the arts, I think. It gets lonely. we need more and more people, and there are more people. There's I personally train several hundred visually impaired people to paint, and lots of professional artists who have lost their eyesight. And I've taught about 50 or 60, I've lost track, but professional artists who lost their eyesight and now they're getting back into their art, and it's so great. So I mean, if anybody would want to join like my page, or if I do like workshops, to join them and just be a voice online, even if you're not painting, I think it's really great for the bigger community, for the sighted community, to understand that people with visual impairments, we're not pigeonholed anymore. There's so much more that we can do. There's so much more we can go out there and do. And the more that we're out there doing it and just being ourselves and just having fun with it, I think the more that we're going to open up other people's eyes.
John, can you repeat where your murals are in Dallas?
Oh, sure. They're let's see. I have there's two in the Bishop Arts District, and I can't remember the name of the street. Cars are like magic. I get in them and I show up places. But it's in the Bishop Arts District, and there's two 4-story murals there. And the best part about it is that there's this pie shop, which is incredible. They have the best pie. So you can go by there. You can have a pie. They have all these little places where you can get coffee. You can get a drink if you want it. There's it's a fun little area in Dallas. So it's the Bishop Arts area, and then I'm trying to think where else I have some. But yeah, that's probably the best spot.
Awesome. Shauna has another question.
Hi. Is the murals tactical?
No. They're not. I mean, they are. When I put them down, they are a little bit. The black paint to me was a little more rubbery feeling. I'm not sure what it's like now because it's been in the sun. So when if it dry, how it is a year later. When I first put it down, I chose the black paint because it felt different than the other paint. but so I don't know if you can still feel it or not. I haven't been over there in a while to feel it. You know, if the sun's done something to it, but the mural should be there for like 30 years. Like it's really great paint that'll be there, but no, it isn't like raised up, unfortunately.
That's
But it was
okay.
just,
I'd still like to check it out.
oh no, thank you. Yeah, it's just I wanted to do like, you know, doing a textured mural like that would be great. But like those over there, they're like 4 stories tall, and they're like,
Yeah.
you know, really big, and I can't even imagine the amount of material you would need to make it all like thick. But it would be awesome though. That would be so cool.
Thank you.
Next time.
Hey, John.
Yes.
This is Kevin again. We just got a message in the chat here. They were someone was asking, did you meet Jeff Bridges in person? When you mentioned feeling his face earlier, is that what happened? Did you meet him in person?
Yeah. I had a short documentary that was made about my artwork, and it was being shown at a film festival in Santa Barbara, where his house was. And then so he sent a message or something saying, you know, he wanted to meet me. So I went to his house, and you know, so I'm a huge fan of the dude, and you know, so it sounded great, but I didn't really know what to expect. And but I knew right away that I was going to like him, because as soon as he met me, the first thing he did was he got on the ground and he started rolling around with my guide dog, like on the ground, which normally you're not supposed to, you know, pet a guide dog. But hey, it's the dude, you know, so what we gotta do. But they're rolling on the ground, just laughing and having.
I mean, are you really going to correct Jeff Bridges?
Yeah, and you know, the funniest thing about him is that, like, if you've ever seen the Big Lebowski, that's pretty much him. Like that's like he. I don't think he was playing a character in that movie. Like that's just the way he is. Like he's just like, you know, whoa. And I'm not whoa. That sounded more like Keanu Reeves. But I cannot do impressions. But and for anybody who has vision, let me show you. Let's see. I'm gonna try to. Sorry, I'm moving things around. Here. I just put up a little camera. I have a camera on my guide dog. I was gonna do a live stream tomorrow night, and we're gonna have an Eagle cam. My guide dog's name is Eagle. So she's asleep over there snoring on her dog bed. So anybody who has vision, that's what my guide dog looks like. She's a yellow lab, currently snoring over there in the side of the studio.
That's awesome.
I think she's Eagle. You over there, baby? Well, she's out. I didn't hear her jingle at all. She has little jingles kind of on her collar, so I can hear when she moves.
Oh, there she goes. She's looking.
Oh, did you move? Oh, you wake up?
Oh, she's a sweet baby.
Wow, she must have really been asleep. Usually when I say her name, she pops up. But anyway, okay. That's my dog.
She's cute. We have another question. Celeste, go ahead. Celeste. Make sure your actual cell phone is unmuted as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute you back. If you are able to figure it out, just raise your hand again. Do we have any other questions?
Just remember, everybody, if you want to ask a question and you're on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And if you're on the computer, it's Alt-Y.
And
go ahead, Mindy.
So when will we be seeing some of your artwork at one of the Meow Wolves? Shawn and I went in, I think it was January or December, and oh my God, it's incredible.
It looks like John may be frozen. There you go, John. Maybe.
Oh, maybe he's rejoining.
John, are you there?
It looks like he dropped out. I could tell that his video feed was freezing. Maybe he'll rejoin.
So a question
Did
to
I
you
break
guys.
it, Becky?
Yes, it's all your fault, Mindy.
Sorry.
John, can you hear?
Oh, hell, am I
He
back
just
there?
sent a
Yes,
message.
you're back.
There you
Okay, cool. Sorry, I dropped out and then it said you're muted or something like that. And I was like,
Sorry.
oh. I mean, I knew that I was talking a lot, but I didn't know that you guys had to mute me.
No, I only mute Kevin after I've heard enough of him.
Did you hear Mindy's question, John?
No, I'm so sorry. I sure didn't.
She was asking about
Oh, Shawn and I went to Santa Fe in January or December, at the end of December. So we went to Meow Wolf, and it was just mind-blowing.
Oh, man.
It was amazing.
I'm jealous. I'm so jealous. I had tickets for it, and it was right when this whole COVID-19 thing started and everything. I had a show in Albuquerque, and then we were going to go to Santa Fe, and we already had our ticket spot and everything, and then it got canceled. I'm jealous. That's so cool that you guys were able to go there and do that.
Yeah, you'll have to definitely go, because it's just like, I don't know, Shawn and I really enjoyed it. It's really interactive for someone who can't see what's there. It's
so
incredible.
cool.
But when will we see some of your artwork there?
Oh my goodness! As soon as they ask me, I'm down. I just started building an immersive, like on the other side of the studio, where I'm building an immersive art scene where it's like a painting of mine, but that you can walk in and touch everything. So it's like a lamppost and a bench and the whole forest scene and all this sort of stuff and trees that you can they're all painted. And so I'm trying to do something that's a little bit more immersive, but so we're building it now. So hopefully soon.
Nice. Well, you're amazing.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a couple of questions coming up, and then we had somebody in the chat ask, are you able to move your camera around so we can see the paintings that you have in your studio?
Oh, let me see. You know what? Here, I have another camera that's set up for that thing. Here's one that's showing a couple of paintings that I'm working on. I know because I was working on them a bit ago. I have an overhead camera that goes onto onto my easel. So it's a forest scene with kind of a lake scene with a dock, and then there's a couple with an umbrella over to the right. And this painting isn't quite done, but it's a commission, and the people that wanted it, the commission done, they wanted me to paint it to Van Morrison's Moon Dance. So whenever I hear music, I see colors. So a lot of times I'll use oh gosh, like I'll use the color from music to be able to for the color in the painting. Sorry, my brain's crazy today. So I have that, and then I'm working on this painting. It's a 3 foot by 3 foot painting of a woman's face and a guitar. And I don't know here, I can try to here let me I'm not sure if I can use this camera or not and be able to do that. I don't know. I don't think I can move this one because it's on a tripod, and I think I'll get it all messed up.
Oh, no problem. That was really cool seeing that painting.
Oh, so sorry guys. The studio is crazy. There's the wires and stuff, all that hook that I'm afraid if I move something, I'm going to unplug something.
Oh, no problem. Let's see. Celeste has her hand raised again. Go ahead, Celeste. I hope I'm pronouncing that right as well. I'm known to butcher some names. Celeste. Let's see. To unmute yourself, it's Alt-A if you're on the computer, or *6. Celeste. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go to Shauna. Go ahead, Shauna.
Hi, John. If I wanted to commission a tactile picture, how much would that cost?
Oh, it really varies. If someone was interested in a commission, if they want to send me an email, I have because it depends on the size and all that kind of fun stuff. But
Yeah.
but yeah, if you want to send me an email, I honestly can't remember. I'm horrible when it comes to numbers, whether it's states or anything. But it is written down. I know that.
Okay.
But I can get that to you. But also I wanted to mention too, if anybody did happen to go, and I'm not trying to plug the merch or anything like that at all, but if anybody from this group did go to the store, email me first so I could send you a discount code or anything, because like a friends and family code, because I wouldn't want anybody here paying full price for anything.
That's nice of you.
Oh well, we have to stick together.
True. Thank you.
Of course. Oh, thank you.
Hey, John, this is Kevin again. Are you familiar with some of the tactile artwork presented by Eamon Carter?
Oh my goodness. No, I haven't been over there yet. I was supposed to go and give a talk there, but of course.
Oh yeah.
all this stuff happened, but no, I haven't been over
Sure.
there yet. But I want to.
Yeah.
I've heard about it. I have a friend over there that she's one of the oh gosh, I don't know what her title is. She used to work at the Dallas Museum of Art, and then they brought her over to the Kimball, and she Amanda Blake, and she's incredible. And so I've heard some amazing stuff, but I haven't been over there yet.
Yeah, we've been over there a few times, the Lighthouse, and usually a few groups of us will go over there at a time, and it's really quite remarkable what they've been able to do. They use 3D printer technology to make replicas of the statues, because and that makes it accessible to someone who's blind, because they frown on you crossing over the barrier and touching the statue, and for some reason, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know.
but yeah, it's nice to have the statue in your hand, or they'll use raised lines to create a tactile representation of the artwork behind glass. So it's been really cool. Every time that I've gone, they have something new there.
Oh, that's cool. That is really cool. No, I haven't been out there yet, but I want to. In fact, whenever all this stuff ends and we're able to leave, I want to go. I would love to go by there and check that out and go back to the Fort Worth Botanical Gardens. I love the gardens there. It's just it's one of my favorite places of anywhere. And I do have a mural in Fort Worth. It's on a building actually, but I can't think of the name. And it's owned by the nicest human being on the planet. He is so nice. I can't think of it, but I have it somewhere. I'm sorry, my brain is just. I'm not good with dates or numbers or things. Apparently,
No, you're fine. We got another question came through the chat here, and someone was asking if you could speak a little bit about your experience getting your first guide dog.
Yes, and my first guide dog is named Echo, and she's actually retired, and she's around here. She's about 13 years old, and both of my guide dogs have come from the guide dogs of Texas. Which I talked to every guide dog school, every major guide dog school in the country, and I looked up at every guide dog school. But actually, we'll get on the phone and I would talk to the different schools before I chose the guide dogs of Texas, and I chose them because they're a smaller guide dog school. Like they only serve people in this state. They don't send their dogs out all over the country, so it's much smaller. But for the guide dog instructors, like if you become a guide dog instructor, it's the same training everywhere. So like, in around the world as well. Like if you, so some of the guide dog instructors will actually, they'll become like an official guide dog instructor, and they can go work in England if they want to, or Australia, or I think Australia, or different places, or all around the country. But the thing that made the guide dogs of Texas different is that they're so much more one-on-one. Like and I'm not putting down any of the other guide dog schools, but like there's, the big one in California, you're probably going to be in a group of like 20 or 30 people for each instructor. With the guide dogs of Texas, it's the same instructor, like the same training, but you're probably one-on-one or one-on-two or three, and they just make it that way. And now they've actually changed it where it's definitely one-on-one. And where the other one, you would go to the school for 4 weeks. Here, the Guide Dogs of Texas, it was 2 weeks there and 2 weeks in your hometown. That way they can actually walk on your routes. They can walk around the businesses that you go to and everything that you actually do. And they've changed it now, and it's all of it is done where you live. So that all your practice is done going into all the businesses that you might go into on a day-to-day basis. And one nice thing about that too is that they will handle anybody that doesn't understand if a guide dog can come in or not. So they'll do all the education, and stuff, which usually isn't a problem. But if it is, you don't even have to worry about it, and especially when you first start using a guide dog. Well, your cane skills have to be really good to be able to get a guide dog, but you're relearning some different things, about how to operate the guide dog, the commands and stuff. You're trying to keep that right. The last thing you want to have to deal with is, it's like a restaurant owner saying, "Oh, we don't allow dogs in here." So your instructor will say, "Oh, it's a guide dog, blah, blah, blah. Here's the law," and all that kind of fun stuff. But
it's funny you mentioned them. A couple of weeks ago, I actually had a lady reach out to me. They are now opening up a North Texas division because before they've only been in San Antonio, and they've seen the need grow in North Texas. So as of right now, there's just one lady, and I have her contact information if anybody needs it. Her name's Susan Cranford, and she is going to be heading that up.
Susan, yeah, well, awesome. That's brilliant. Yeah, they've been wanting. I was on the board of directors for a long time, and I've wrote for the guide dog school, and I've rotated off now, and I just can't. They are incredible. Like, they are just incredible, and the training they do. Like, one of the things about guide dogs that I didn't know was that the training can be a little different from school to school. So like with the guide dogs of Texas, they use more modern training techniques, and this is huge. The old way that guide dogs used to be trained, and this is the way that some of the guide dog schools still train them, but it used to just be routes. So there goes. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but my beagle, she likes to howl. So I don't know if you hear her howling. That's probably my beagle. I apologize. But the way that the guide dog schools used to train were routes. So maybe the dog could find like leave your house and be able to find your work or the bus stop and maybe a coffee shop. It was just certain routes that they could go on. The way that Eagle and the guide dogs now, like the guide dogs of Texas are trained, is fines. So a lot of the time when I travel, like I was mentioning that I fly 2 or 3 times a month. If I go to the airport and I want to find the men's room, even if it's an airport that I've never been to, I can ask Eagle to find the boys, and she'll find the men's room wherever it is. It's almost like a bomb sniffing dog, but instead of bombs, she'll find bathrooms. That in the bathroom, she knows the difference between a urinal, a stall. She can find the sink. She can find the trash can. She'll remember the seat that I was sitting in. So when I say find my seat, she'll take me all the way back to my gate to the actual chair that I was sitting in. She can find elevators, the button for an elevator. So like if you're in a big hotel, let's say you're in Vegas, and you're and they have lots and lots of elevators, but maybe only one button. She'll find the button and put her nose right underneath it so you can hit it, and then she'll remember which room is yours. So you don't have to even remember your room number if you don't want to. It's ridiculous. It's getting to the point where if you have a smart dog and a smartphone, you're pretty good. Like you can put in your smartphone like, oh, I want is there a coffee shop within walking distance? It'll tell you the directions, and you feed them to your dog. Like, okay, go straight, find left, find the door, and once you're in there, find the counter. She'll find the counter for you. Find a seat. And my first guide dog, Echo, at first she would always find a seat at a table with other people. So you would sit down with a group of family or something. So it wasn't an empty table. But then she started to pick up that you want like an empty table. It's funny how they learn that stuff, but. I can just go on and on about guide dogs, but it's they can be incredibly helpful, especially if you do a lot of traveling through crowds. It makes it so much easier.
John,
Hey,
go ahead, Shawn.
Hey, John, it's Shawn. So I was just curious, do you have any favorite paintings, favorite drawings? I get, how like a song can bring you back to a certain time. Do you have any paintings like that?
That's a really good question. usually my favorite painting is the one that I'm working on at the time, because it's the act of painting that is so incredible. That's why I paint every day. I paint, and I usually paint like 8 to 14 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week, and even when I'm traveling, I paint. I always bring a kit with me, because it's the act of painting that really helps me. But it's interesting to feel like an old painting, because you're right about, and I can't think of a particular one, because every painting has a different story. So whenever I feel an old painting, it kind of takes me back to that story. But my favorites are usually the ones that I'm working on. Even if it turns out to be a painting that doesn't work out, the act of actually working on it is what is great. Oh, and I want to say really quickly, I was going on and on about guide dogs and how amazing they are. And I wanted to say that I'm not putting down cane travel at all. Like, it's whatever works for you. There's some people, the cane is like king, and it works the best. For me, I'm in crowds a lot. I go to schools, and I'm around a lot of children. I'm around a lot of students, a lot of museums and airports, and guide dogs makes that a breeze for me. So but whatever makes you an independent traveler, that's the best thing. Anyway, I just wanted to say that, because it just sounded like I was going like, oh, I'm all pro dog, but I'm pro whatever gets you out and about.
I totally understand. And I had one other question, and this is something I picked up from your one of your Facebook lives. You were talking about how painting helps you deal with negative feelings, or negative, I guess it was negative feelings. Can you talk on that any?
Yeah, it's funny, because like whenever you paint, it's almost like you take your life and you set it, like you hit the pause button in a way. So because like whenever I paint, I'm having to feel where I am on the painting, hold in my mind what it is I've done, and what I can feel what I've done. I can feel all the paint strokes, the thick paint, the lines that I've made. Every time I make a mark on the painting, it gives me something else to fill. So it adds more to the map, more information for me to fill. But I'm having to think about that, and I'm having to think about what color, and then getting the paint on the brush, and then putting it exactly where I want it to. And the act of doing all that, it forces you to live paint stroke to paint stroke. You're not thinking about anything in the past that's happened to you. You're not worried about the future, about bills you have to pay, or about this upcoming visit at the doctor's, or anything. You're right there in that moment. And then for the next paint stroke, you're getting more paint, and then you're right in that moment. So it's forcing you to live moment to moment. And if you do that long enough, let's say if you're painting for 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours, for that entire time, you're not thinking about, all the stuff that's stressing you out. You're taking a little vacation. Then if you keep taking these little vacations, your stress levels just drop. It's funny, painting has helped my epilepsy as well. And I mean, I had a seizure yesterday, which is probably why I'm stuttering a little bit today. It makes that happen a little bit, but so it didn't take away the epilepsy, but my feelings about it. Like, I used to feel like it was like this monster that's always out to get me. It's stealing my time and all this sort of stuff. I felt like it was a separate sort of thing. And when the vision, it was sort of that way too. It felt like it was like this thief that's stealing my time and stealing my life away. And with the painting, being able to take these breaks, it started making it where, I felt more like, that's just me. There's Sundays I'm more like a James Bond martini. I'm more shaken than stirred. I mean, the epilepsy is just part of me. So on that day, I deal with it. And in the blindness, it's just me. It's just the way I am. And but I started to accept that a little more, because I don't know, the painting just got me used to living in the moment. The stress was able to drop off. And whenever that did, whenever you're in the moment and you're checking yourself in the moment, you think, well, I've got these problems, things are happening, but right at this moment, everything is good. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but
no, you are.
Definitely made me feel
good.
better. I'm happier now than I used to be.
John, I had a question. This is Kevin again. About when you're doing a piece of art and you're painting it, and you walk away from it, how do you know where to pick up where you left off at last?
Oh, that's a good question, Kevin. And when I first started, that was a hard thing, But it's like anything, the more you do something, the better you get. But at first, whenever I paint in lots of layers and I paint in steps. So always, before I started painting, I have an idea of what I want the painting to look like. It always changes. Like it never ends up exactly the way I wanted. I always end up changing it. But at least I have a starting point. I know what I want to do. Like I want to do this, and then I want to do this and this and this. So usually when I'm painting, I'll go until I get that step done, or I'll get this area done, or I'll know like, well, I'm going to paint this part of the background, or I'm going to paint this, or this area of the painting. So once I get that covered, I know, okay, that's done. So that's at a stopping point. Like that's at the point where I wanted to get it. Now while that's drying, I'm going to work on this part over here, you know, and then I'll get that little part done. One of the things that helps too is that I do work in layers. So I don't try to make like a painting done with just one stroke. Almost like if anybody's ever seen or heard of Bob Ross, where you do like these wet on wet techniques, and he'll start him painting, and then 30 minutes later it's like boom, it's done. Suddenly, you know, it's magic. It's this crazy thing.
No, I love Bob Ross.
Start a painting, and then days later it's done, because I'll paint on an area, I'll let it dry, and I can go back and feel it, and then, you know, and see if I covered the way that I wanted it to. And the more you do it, the better you get at that, you know. But I'll usually do, like even the painting behind me, the one with the trees and stuff, that's probably 15 layers of paint, and more in some places. In some places it's closer to 30, because I'll just do these thin layers. I'll do washes and glazes, and you know, and if anybody wants to learn how to do any of that, well, you know, like I say, we're going to be doing online workshops for kicks and giggles. For anybody that wants to do it.
Awesome. Any other questions for John out there, guys?
Looks like we have a question in the chat. So Olga said she found your mural in Fort Worth. It is a wall next to Cooper's footwear facility.
Yes, Coop, Dan. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I know.
She wants to know, how long did it take to paint this?
Oh my goodness, how
I'll
long?
just kind of describe it as well for everybody.
I think it was about 3 or 4 days, maybe 2 or 3 days. With a painting for a mural, I always do it on canvas first, and you know, and I do the painting knowing that it's going to be the mural. I'll go to the site, I'll fill the building. So you know, I'll see about the bricks, windows, pipes, anything that I can use to help orient me. And then in the painting that I do on canvas, I put all that in there. Like I try to put where a pipe is, or a window, or any of that stuff, so that I know, like, well, this fence is going to go up so high to this crack in the brick or something. Then, you know, it helps me know when I'm putting it. And then I start drawing with this paint that feels different. It's like black paint that feels kind of like rubber. So then I start putting the lines in. I'm sorry, what was the question? How long did it take? And
can you just describe it for everybody?
Describe it. Yes, let me see if I remember. It's a fence, like a fence, like a wooden rail fence that, you know, you might see out in the pasture. It has, I'm trying to think, because I did 3 or 4 different versions. I'm trying to think of which one I actually put on the wall, because I kept changing it. But there's this cowboy. He's got like a handlebar mustache. He's sitting on the fence, and he's looking over. And then and there's this little boy that's climbing up on the fence, and the little boy's in a cowboy hat, and the big cowboy's, of course, he's got his cowboy hat on. There's a dog that's sitting on the rails of the fence, I think, and the one that I put there. And one version that I painted, I had the dog sitting on the horse, and I'm trying to think of which one I actually put in the mural. And then I think I put the dog on the fence. And then because my wife saw me, like the one that I did with the dog on the horse, she said, "No, that doesn't look right." I was like, a dog could ride a horse. Why not? It could happen. And then there's a horse that's sort of looking over the fence. So it's just sort of this Western scene of this old cowboy kind of just looking at this boy playing with animals, and sort of a happy scene.
Awesome, thank you.
Sorry, that was a terrible description.
You're fine.
No, John, that was a great description. Now I'm imagining a dog on a horse.
Yeah, I know.
It's a great image.
That sounds better, right? That should be like a bigger dog and a smaller dog on that dog, and just have them piled up.
Any other questions? Okay, while we wait a minute, you were talking about art being therapy, and I have a 7-year-old who we've been going through some disability testing and all this, and turns out it was just severe ADHD with severe anxiety, but one of the biggest recommendations they did for us was art therapy. And of course, this was like a month before COVID hit. So we turned our spare room into an art studio for her, and it has made a world of difference so far.
Awesome. That is so brilliant.
All the time. Like, I can't keep up with canvases. I came home with 30 one day. I'm like, oh, this will last the weekend. It lasted like half a day.
Rebecca, that is so cool. That is so awesome.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions. Let's see. Anthony, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. Where is that mural located in Fort Worth? It's Anthony.
So Olga actually gave me the address. It is 3857 Southwest Loop 820 in Fort Worth. 761.
3857?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Thanks. Mr. Cooper is so nice. He is just one of the nicest people I've ever met. He's just incredible.
Shauna, go ahead.
Hi, I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to say that you're amazing, and I really appreciate you coming to talk to us.
Shauna, thank you so much. That makes me feel so good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you again.
Oh, heck yeah.
You know, maybe I, in part, speak on behalf of other folks here, but just hearing your story, it kind of is inspiring me a little bit to think about trying something art related. You know, I think you have a really awesome story. I do a little sculpting with clay. I like to sculpt things, and I haven't done it in a long time, but I'm thinking now I might, get back in there and get out some clay and see what my imagination inspires me to create.
Oh, Kevin, man, that is awesome. That clay is work. You know, with painting, it's easy. Like, sculpting is hard work.
Yeah.
For me, oh my goodness. But for me, painting is easy. Like, if I want to make a straight line in paint, I can make a line. But if I try to make a line in clay, like sculpting, oh my goodness, I'm there for half an hour still trying to get it to work. That is so cool, man. Well, yeah, have fun with it, and the best thing about it, is that it's just about the doing of it, and every time you make a mistake, like, it's one of the nice things is that it's a life lesson in a way. Like, whenever you do art, that failure is an option, and failure is actually a good thing. Like, you want to be failing. If you're not failing at something, then it means you're probably not trying enough new things. If you're not failing at something, you're probably in a rut. So it's good to be doing art and making mistakes with it, and being okay from it, because with every mistake, it's just pushing you forward a little bit, and that's really what it's about. It's just about mixing it up a little bit, having a little fun.
We have a couple other questions. Okay, the last 4 digits of the phone number are 1790, 1790.
Rebecca, that's me, Olga.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just speaking because I looked up, I am a VI teacher and an O&M instructor in the region, and we are having a conference next year for all of the teachers, O&M instructors, Lighthouse, everyone. And we would love to have you come and speak to us and speak to the group. So keep March 25th to 27th of 2021. We had to cancel this year's. Keep those dates. I will be emailing you for sure.
Oh, please send me the email. Cause thank you, Olga, for having me in mind for that. Please send me the email. Yeah, because I know in the spring the calendar, that's when everybody wants to do art stuff, you know. So like the springs are always gets filled up really quickly because everybody wants to do a spring festival here and a little thing there and all that.
And this conference is in Denton next year, right there at the
Get out
embassy.
of town. Well, how convenient is that? That's perfect. Oh my goodness.
Sorry, I just had to get on and say that. Thank you so much.
Olga, thanks so much.
Go ahead, Mindy.
So I'm really interested in purchasing some of your paintings, but my question is, if we were to go on the website, how could I find out exactly what is on the painting? Is it like this, I mean, pretty detailed what I will be purchasing, or how do you go about that?
Oh, thank you so much for having an interest in the paintings like that. It's listed as regular prints, and then there's limited edition prints, and then originals. With the regular print, they're matted and signed. With the limited edition, they're canvas and stretched, and there's only 100 ever made. And but so it should say that on that. But if you were thinking about buying anything, if you would send me an email first, and I could send you over a discount code to make it cheaper. And then if you're on the website and if you have any kind of questions or anything, just send me an email and we can figure it all out. And if you need like a verbal description or anything, then we can make that happen too.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, any other questions? I'm sure Kevin's got one in there somewhere. Kevin and I work very closely together, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh yeah.
John, do you have any paintings of any science fiction? I mean, that'd be a question Kevin would ask.
What are you trying to say, Shawn? I'm a nerd too, John. I'm a total nerd. So I wear my nerd flag proudly.
That's awesome. That's, you know, we just did a live stream on Facebook where we talked about the art of Star Trek, and so I'm a nerd. But yeah, I've done like some steampunk, and I've done I did two Jokers from Batman.
Oh wow!
I haven't done too much in the fantasy but that's something I would love to do more of, like more science fiction, more kind of cool, fun stuff like that.
Well, there are a lot of Comic Cons throughout the area, DFW and Houston and otherwise, that host a lot of artists there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, I was supposed to go to the Comic Con in San Diego this year. Oh, wow. Not to show art, just to be there and be a big nerd. Like
right on.
Else. But of course it got canceled. So it's like, man, we got tickets for all 4 days. Like, and that's so fair to get tickets at all, but to get them for every day and then it gets canceled. You're like, oh man.
I was planning on attending a Comic Con in Houston called Comic Palooza, but that was canceled as well. So.
Oh man. Next year.
Next year, definitely.
It's on next year.